Hello, everybody. Welcome to our CakeFu Master Series. We are really excited today. We're going live, and we can actually see me and our guest Jessica today. And we have Jessica is here with us. She's a really very talented cake decorator. I kind of just happened across her website one day, and I was just blown away. She has this technique that she has come up with that I just thought, genius. It's genius. And so she's going to share a little bit of that with us today. She actually has recently, just even today, she has kicked off and launched a video with a fellow website, craftsy.com. I'm sure that you guys have all heard of Craftsy, and they have a bunch of really great training videos and things like that. A lot of really great names out there that they have brought in, and Jessica is now among the ranks of some of those, and she is going to talk about her video a little bit, talk about a little bit of what's in the video. That's what she's going to share today, a little bit of what's in, or the kind of stuff that's in that video, so that you guys can get over there and get that video. We are also, for you guys, one lucky listener today is going to be winning a free Craftsy video about of Jessica's, and so that'll be exciting. So stick around to the end if you want to get that. Let's see. All right, we'll go ahead and we will get on with the training portion. We're going to talk a little bit about you, Jessica, and a little bit about where you're from, and if I can get my screen to move. There we go. All right, so I guess just let us go ahead. Tell us where you're from, how you got to do what you're doing. You have a different kind of background as far as your education goes. So you want to explain how you got to where you are?
I actually I went to college at Oregon State University, and I went into the program to do construction engineering. I have loved building since I was a kid. So that was kind of my passion, was to work on construction sites, and I love to coordinate and manage things, and so I thought that'd be kind of a perfect blend of my skills. And so I did 2 years in that program and really enjoyed it, but realized I didn't want to spend day in and day out on a construction site. That's just not where I'm willing to spend the time. And after working, with several construction companies, I decided I wanted to go onto the design side, which I love also. And so I switched over. They have a commercial interior design program there, and so I switched over and graduated from there and kept my minor in construction engineering. So, and then I got a job designing dental offices right out of college, and I have stuck with that since. I have really enjoyed working in that niche and with that industry. It's a really small, wonderful industry, and I've really enjoyed working there. So yeah, my background's in interior design, not decorating. It kind of shows in my case. I'm not a decorator per se. Like, I don't pick out pillows and curtains and knickknacks. I like the real architectural side of building and design. So I love floor planning and space planning and the colors and materials of the architectural elements. So that's kind of, it perfectly lines up with kind of my cake designs. It's usually very geometric, more streamlined, more clean, more architectural, I guess.
I can definitely see that in your cakes. Yeah.
Like, I don't do lots of flowers and swags and more of the decorating stuff that is beautiful, that I love. It's just not really my gifting, I guess. It's not where I'm passionate about, I guess. So yeah, so that's how I started. And then I married my amazing husband, and I worked for about 6 years before we had kids, and then I decided I want to be a mommy. So stayed home. I'd never even considered cakes until my daughter was 4, and she started to get into wanting to have a cool birthday cake, for her party. And so I thought I could do that. And at that time, all the Food Network challenges were pretty popular, and I'd seen them, of course. And so I decided I would make a cake for her. And so I got online and looked up a recipe for marshmallow fondant, and decided I'd try making it, and I made my first little cake, and it was, looking back, it's horrible. But it was my first start, and you have to start somewhere. So
Exactly.
I had never really baked anything. I'm not a baker. So I bought a box of cake mix at the store and a jar of frosting at the store, and I used that for my cake, and it was all floppy and squishy and not at all what it is today. But, it just shows you that you keep practicing, keep trying, keep learning, and, things grow and change and become better. So, and that's been it. And I decided early on that I wouldn't have a business because I love my weekends with my husband. He works a lot during the week. So for me, that's our fun family time. So I decided that it wasn't going to turn into a business, which actually has been a huge blessing because I get to do the designs that I want to do, and I get to make cakes when it's convenient for our family. And then I get I'm totally free to share all the things I'm learning because I'm not, competing for business. I can just be totally open with, hey, this works for me. You guys should try it because there's nothing to lose, and I love to help people. So that's kind of how I started.
That's great. Everybody has, the way that they do things, and I think that, having a business is for some people, not as, not
Yeah,
for some.
I mean,
So
if I didn't have, the kids and all the husband that worked so long hours, and I also have my design business. So for me, I didn't need another avenue to make money, as a stay-at-home mom. So I still continue doing some design work on the side, and so that kind of subsidizes that income that maybe I would be using the cakes for if I didn't have that design, company. So it works out great. I'm happy.
great. Perfect. Perfect. And so your Craftsy video that you've released, that just today it's come out, you want to tell a little bit about that?
Sure. So the Craftsy video is so full of so much information. It's hard to kind of tell you all about it. I'm so excited about it. I feel like it's a perfect blend of everything I have on my blog and what I've blogged about the last couple of years. Everything good that I found in the world is in that video. Everything
Yay.
worked for me. I'm just so open with sharing all of those tips and tricks and secrets. So from making fondant, I only usually use homemade fondant just because this is a ministry for me and I don't make money on my cakes. So for me, saving that money and trying to help my husband out is always good.
Uh-huh.
So I do the marshmallow fondant and modeling chocolate, and then I show two different ways of getting really sharp corners and smooth sides on your cake before you cover it in fondant. And then I cover a square cake and a round cake in fondant, and then I show you how to get really sharp edges on your fondant so it looks like all those amazing Australian cake makers that are phenomenal at that. But it's way less time consuming to do. As a mom, I've really tried to find tips and tricks and things that really save me time in the kitchen because I just don't have the time anymore with the 3 kiddos. So that's been my goal, is how can I do this more efficiently, how can I do it faster, and how can I do it better? So that's kind of where most of these tips and tricks have come from. So
yeah, it's all about saving time, right?
For me it is.
And I get the kids thing.
Yeah, you get the kids thing. You got twice as many kids as I do, so.
Okay. Well, anything over 1,
Yeah.
I mean, even 1 is a lot of work, Any kids at all.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it, but it's the season's very busy, and so we do what we can to make it a little easier, I guess. So.
Yep.
And then after I cover the cakes in fondant, I showcase that wax paper transfer technique that I came up with, and there's 3 different ways you can use that technique, and there's actually probably more ways than that, but there's 3 kind of general ways that you can use it to create pretty much any design you can think about and get it on your cake really, really easily and really cleanly. So, I spend the rest of the class basically going through how to do that, and then making my signature flower and my bow. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and that transfer that you do, that's basically what we're talking about today, because that's how I found you, was through that. And I just when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, why hasn't someone thought about this before? It's so, it's perfect. Why?
Yeah.
So, and if someone did happen to think of it before you, they weren't sharing. So,
Right. Yeah, it was totally the Lord. I am so thankful that for my friend Summer, first of all, who gave me that design on that original cake, that gave me this complicated design. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I don't know if I would have came up with it right away. I'm sure eventually I would have because I love graphics, and trying to get graphics on a cake is always really difficult. But that was kind of what started this whole process. Was I really wanted to try to figure out how to build a design on your work surface, which is way easier than trying to build it on a vertical surface. So that's kind of how it all came about.
that's right. It's perfect. It really is. Just so that you guys, that if anybody came in a little bit late, just beware and stick around because at the end, Jessica is going to be giving away one free class, and so you guys will want to be here for that, and we will also share a link with you guys on where to go to purchase the video if you aren't the lucky winner. So, all right. So this is a picture of the cake that started the whole trend, the whole idea. So you want to explain how this came to be?
Yeah, so she sent me a sketch. Summer's an amazing cake designer too, and a super close friend of mine. So we decided we would trade birthday cakes for our kids because she throws these amazing parties that are amazing. And so she thought, well, if I don't have to make the cake, it would free me up to do all the decorations and all the other things that happen in the party. And so I was kind of the same way, although my parties aren't quite as crazy. But, not having to worry about a birthday cake would be great. So she sent me this sketch for her daughter that she came up with for this fashionista birthday party she was doing for her.
Adorable, by the way.
The girls got to wear little modeling outfits and do a little runway. It was so amazing.
So cute.
So cute. So this design, it was the bottom design on that cake that you see in that picture. It has a vertical stripe, a pink and white vertical stripe that's laid on top of a different colored fabric, or a different colored fondant, sorry. And so I kept thinking, well, how am I going to get those stripes on the cake and then cut the scallop out without damaging the fondant behind the scallop that I was cutting away? So I literally was sitting on my kitchen on a stool just going like this, how am I going to do it? And I always have wax paper and Crisco sitting around. So because I love those two products a lot for cake design. And I kept thinking if I could just do it on my work surface and cut that scallop out and somehow get it on my cake, that would be ideal. And that's just kind of how it came to me. Again, I totally know that it was a God thing for me, but it just was this random thought, and I started to build all those stripes on my work surface, and I cut out the template that I had created. I create all of my designs in AutoCAD because of my design background, my business. I use that all the time. So I create that little scallop as a template and then put it on my stripes after I laid them all out and cut it out, and then was able to just stick it up on the cake like it was a sticker. So it was awesome. I was so happy.
That is so cool. This design on this cake is just it screams fashionista, and I love it. And I love that it was for a little girl's birthday party. That is just so fun.
Yeah, she's really talented. It's so fun to share ideas back and forth and to work through designs together with her.
So fun. All right, so here is the way that the way that you do your transfers. This is just a small part of what you're teaching on your Craftsy video, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is fairly basic. You go more into detail on different designs, different colors, different.
And there's a couple other ways besides this technique I'm going to show you here. There's two other ways that you can use the wax paper transfer depending upon the design. So lots of different designs, you can use it in lots of different ways. So this is just one of the three ways that you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is the only one I know, so I'm gonna have to go get your video. So cool. All right, so go ahead and I'll let you walk us through this tutorial, and then.
Again, this is a template I created in AutoCAD, and if you don't have AutoCAD, which most people don't, you could find any kind of a chevron pattern online and just recreate it basically, print it on your printer and size it to like you want it and get it all sized out for your cake. Basically, I measure the height of my cake and the circumference of my cake to create that giant template. And then I printed a second copy and cut out one of those stripes. So I had one set of the little chevron stripe, and I used that to cut out all my chevron stripes. So what you do is you take the big giant template that you see on the bottom there, and you take that to your counter, and then you take a piece of wax paper that's a little bit longer than that template, and you lay it on top of your just like, there you go. You lay it on top of your template, the wax paper, and then you grease the wax paper up with some Crisco, and then you start laying your design on top of the template and lining up your chevron pattern and getting them nice and even, just like you'd want them. I think there's another picture there that shows it all laid out. You can also cut right on your wax paper if you want to, but if you're afraid you might cut through it, then you can cut that chevron out separately and transfer it. Let it sit up on your counter and get nice and firm, and then, not nice and firm because you still want to be able to put it around your cake, but, let it sit for, 20 minutes or so it firms up a little bit, and then transfer it onto your design.
Okay. And how did you do this one? Did you cut it out and then transfer it, or did you?
Cut it out and then transferred it. I was working with modeling chocolate on this one. And modeling chocolate cuts and transfers beautifully because it doesn't bend or stretch. And so if you're using modeling chocolate, you can easily transfer. But if you're going to use fondant, I would try to cut on the wax paper, just cut carefully.
Okay.
But this one I cut separately and transferred it onto the design. And then I had a little portraits on this design, so I cut out my little holes for where the portraits would be between the chevron before I put on my cake.
I'm not sure if I put that on the...
Well, I think it might be in the final image of the cake, if I sent you that, hopefully.
Let me make sure I did get it. You can keep going, and I'll go look for it.
It's on my blog, so you could go there and see the final version of the cake too. So yeah. And then once your template is set and you have kind of straightened everything, then you wet the back of it with some water or sugar glue. And then you line up the bottom of the template with the bottom of the cake, so you have to kind of turn the template around. And then you just kind of flip it up and you wrap it around your cake like a big sticker. And then you press it with a fondant smoother and you peel that fondant or that wax paper off, and it should leave your design on there really close to being perfect. I mean, there's always a little bit that gets shifted or that can move, but again, super easy to go back and just, fix a few of those areas that need to be corrected. So. But yeah, that's as simple as it is. And again, it would take you so much longer to do this by hand than working on your work surface and applying it all together. It just saves so much time.
Yeah, I did a chevron cake at one point, and let's see if we have that final picture. Oh, there's
peeling it off.
Peeling it off. What happened? What do you do if it starts to pull away? Is there and it, maybe it starts to sag as you're pulling it away? Is there anything to...
Like if when you're pulling the wax paper away, it pulls the fondant away with it?
Yeah.
As long as you've got a good, either water or sugar glue in the back of that, what I'll do is I'll get it, after you get up on your cake and you wrap it around, before I peel the wax paper away, I'll make sure I really press that design onto my cake. Use a fondant smoother if you want to. And you can even let it sit there for a few minutes to make sure that it's adhered. And then you slowly start peeling that wax paper around. And I just do it super slowly so I can kind of see what's happening as I'm moving it. But it doesn't happen very often. One of the biggest tricks, though, is keeping your medium really thin. The thicker that your design is, the heavier it becomes, and the more chance it could fall off the wax paper. So you really want to keep your design, your medium, really thin so that it's nice and light.
Good. Yeah, we like the thin anyway, right?
Yeah.
I was saying I had done a chevron cake a while ago, and I pieced it on piece by piece, and it was, and it wasn't as small as this. It wasn't as,
repetitive. Yeah.
Here we go. I didn't get. Let me go back really fast.
Oh, okay, you can snag it off my blog and throw it up there if you want.
Yeah, I can. grab it from, I'm on your blog right now.
Huh.
Hold
Yeah.
up. Okay, I'm going to screen share this. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see it.
I did this cake for my friend who adopted a baby from Africa. So it was so sweet. Such a beautiful, beautiful party. And
Oh, here I am. Okay, let me pull this up for you. Here's the finished product.
there you go.
So you guys can see that. And that's Jessica's blog right there. So Jessica, or Jessica Cakes
Yeah,
at
Jessica's
Blogspot.
blog. Yeah.
Or Jessica Cakes blog at blogspot.com, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And we'll actually have a link to her website on CakeFu later on today. We'll share the recipe that she's going to share. So this right here is the cake that went with it. So you can see in the pattern how it had the circles, the gaps in it. That's what she put on there. And I love the giraffes. It's just so cool.
It was so cute. The little black giraffe in the middle.
Oh, I love that. How it's the white giraffes and the little baby black giraffe.
So yummy. Oh, so sweet.
And did you put writing in the middle of that?
Yeah, there's a verse in there that had really carried them through this whole adoption journey. It was a verse that was really special to her heart, and so I put that verse in there, and then each of the little portraits around was an African animal that had one of his names in the animal. He had, I think, 5 different names because of his American name and then plus his African names that he was given. So they kept some of those names, so his name's really long. So I made a portrait for each of his names with the animal that kind of was from his area. So yeah.
How cool.
That's what I love about this, doing this as a ministry for my friends. I get to just make stuff so personal for them, and I love making my friends cry.
Oh, isn't it fun?
In a good way, you know. It's just so, I love touching their hearts. It's so much fun.
Let me get back to our tutorial here. There we go. Right on back. So sorry I didn't get that picture up for some reason.
No worries.
But you guys all got to see it.
Yeah.
So okay, and I guess we'll move on to you're sharing a recipe with us today, which I think is kind of appropriate because you've got a yellow cake here today.
I noticed that too.
And maybe that was your inspiration. You were looking at it while you were thinking about your recipe. I don't know.
No, it's near and dear to my heart. So
you know
one
what?
of my good friends' favorite recipe too. So.
Oh, that's funny because one of my best friends growing up, our favorite thing to make together, we would go over to her house and we'd make lemon bars all the time.
Yeah.
So fun. So anyway, lemon bars with cream cheese.
That's cream cheese. Delicious. That's kind of the trick for me. I love lemon bars, but when you add the creamy filling in there, yum.
So good, so good. Okay, so just so that you guys know, you don't have to, frantically scribble this down. I will be putting it up on our blog. So you can go and get the recipe a little bit later on today. But do you have a story that goes along with this, or just that it's...
No, I kind of just forgot how much I love lemon bars until my friend Jen, I found out she loves lemon bars, and so I made her some for fun, I think, one day. I don't remember why I made them for her. And she flipped out about them, and I have made them ever since because they're so yummy.
Well, good.
My husband, he's a huge lemon fan. He would prefer lemon over chocolate any day, and so that's our kind of staple. In fact, my daughter's birthday cake this weekend is a lemon birthday cake. So kind of awesome. So yeah.
Yum. I do like lemon. So I like chocolate too, though. So
yeah, I do too. I like dark chocolate.
Yes, dark chocolate's good. Very good. Okay. Well, let's move on to our questions. Let's see. Sorry, hang on just a second. Okay. All right, I'm going to go and look up our questions here. They're in a different spot. You guys bear with me. I've got 3 different screens in front of me, so I'm like, okay, is it here, here, or here? So hopefully we can get them get them up here real fast. Okay. Wow, we have quite a few.
Oh, I can't see the questions, but I
Yes, I will ask you the. I'll ask you the
yeah,
questions. Make sure you get them.
because
Okay.
I didn't get in there right, so you'll have to just read them to me.
Okay, here's a good one. Let's see. Jenny Spalding is asking. Well, first she says you are amazing, and then she says, "What are your absolute must-have tools?"
Okay, so I do have a few of these. My favorite tool is my quilter's ruler. It's kind of random. I should show it to you. Hold on, it's right over here. Just because some people aren't familiar with quilting rulers, but it's this guy. It's this long, clear ruler, and it's 2 feet long and it's 6 inches wide or tall. And
Uh-huh.
I literally use it for everything because when you're making your cuts, instead of using a normal ruler, you can see through it. So any kind of horizontal cuts or any type of, whenever you want to cut a ribbon or a fondant band, you can keep everything really lined up and keep everything totally straight because you can see exactly through the ruler where you're lined up. So I
Mm-hmm.
love this thing. In fact, I have two of them because my son decided to use one as like a racetrack for his cars.
Oh no.
Broke in half.
Oops.
Now I have a small one and a big one.
Good. Don't you
So
love it when kids do stuff like that? You just
yeah,
ah.
we have lots of those around here. And then my other one is so I have two more. So my next one is my single edge blade razors, and I use these in the show or the class all the time too. Um, they're just small handheld razor blades that I use for everything. They're super, super thin. You can get them underneath your cakes to cut the bottom edges of your fondant off, and they're so inexpensive to buy, and you can throw them away and get a new one and keep everything super sharp and not worry about spending tons of money on it. I think you can buy 100 of them for like $7. So those are great. And
Oh,
then
cool.
okay,
Oh, just that's
yeah,
really smart.
yeah. And then the other thing that I have absolutely loved is my little acetate sheets, which I use when I am smoothing my fondant and getting those sharp corners. They're these little clear plexiglass sheets. Mine's actually like a polyester acrylic, and it's kind of like a really hard notebook divider, but it's plastic. I can't describe. It's uh, like a cutting mat kind of material, the little flexible
Hmm.
cutting mats. It's kind of like that, but it's just straight. And I use it to get my fondant top edges really nice and sharp when I'm doing my cakes. So those are my three
Cool.
must-haves, I guess, for me that I love.
That's perfect. I think that's good information. And that's not something that every decorator has in their
No.
in their lineup. So that's really
Yeah.
good ideas for people.
And the quilting ruler you can buy at Michael's or Joann's for like with the 50% off coupons. So
Hmm.
everything's really inexpensive,
Good. That's
especially
perfect.
for me.
That's the way we like it.
Mama
Uh,
too.
okay, so here's someone that I guess they're not very familiar with the craftsy classes.
Mhm.
So maybe you can explain this a little bit. They said for your craftsy class, what do we need to get before enrolling?
Nothing. You just you can watch the class without having anything, just as if you're sitting and watching me demonstrate at a cake show or something. So you would just you create a username and account, and there's a whole bunch of different classes on there. There's some amazing classes by these brilliant cake decorators. And you put whatever classes you want in your cart, just like you're buying a movie or a video. And then you can sit and watch them 100 times if you want to. You own them for life. They stay in your cart. You can skip around. You can fast forward, rewind. You can go to different lessons. I actually create 4 different cakes during this class, and they're also different. And so if you, let's say, see one of those cakes, you want to create it, you can jump ahead to that lesson for that cake and learn those skills and not have to sit through the whole thing and watch it. So, but there are a whole huge amount of course materials and resource list of things that you could purchase if you want to go ahead and make those cakes. So, but you don't need anything to buy it or to watch the class. Well,
Okay.
computer.
That's perfect. That's the way we like it. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. You just go and get it now, and then, if you can't watch it now, you can watch it later.
Right.
I have a couple of Craftsy videos that I have in my inbox that I haven't watched yet that I plan to.
Well, it's nice. You can watch them whenever. I've actually watched a few when I've been on the treadmill because
Oh, perfect.
you're just watching to see what you like, and then you can leave a little video note or go back and watch it when you're ready to actually do what it is they're talking about. So they make it really easy. It's
They
pretty
do.
cool.
They
Yeah.
do. That's great stuff. All right. Let's see. We have Margaret Hitchman says, "Where do you get your ideas from for new cakes?"
Everywhere. So my cell phone is full of pictures that I've taken when I'm out and about. So I was at Target last week, and they have this new line of coffee cups that I love that have these little graphic images on them. And so I was over there taking pictures of the coffee cups with my phone.
I
Everywhere.
do that all the time. I do that all the time. In fact, I had a friend, my really good friend Paula Ames, that came into town a few weeks ago, and we went out to dinner, and the restaurant where we went, the walls were, I mean, just these
Oh, yeah.
geometric circular kind of patterns,
Yeah.
and the way that they were, I just, wow, that would make such a cool cake. So we're sitting there taking pictures of like the walls and the ceilings and the light fixtures, and
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody thought we were crazy, but
That's exactly where it is, though. It's all around us. In fact, I was at a girlfriend's house last week, and she has this swirly pillow that was so cool. And I'm over there by the light of the window taking a picture of her pillow because I'm like, this would be perfect on a cake. So, I mean, I've taken pictures of garbage cans on the side of a street before because it had this cool geometric pattern in it. Gift bags, cards, like when you're in the Hallmark section. I mean, it's everywhere. It's
yeah.
pretty amazing. I love looking through wedding magazines and looking at dresses. That's another thing that I love to see is the patterns and the way the dresses are. So yeah, it's surprising where you can find inspiration.
Yeah, it really is. And I like to create, a folder. I don't know. If it's out and about, I have it on my phone. If it's on my computer, I have a folder, or else I
Yeah.
pin it on Pinterest, or so I've got this whole Pinterest box that's just inspirational stuff.
Yeah.
So, I guess, yeah,
Mhm.
it's everywhere.
It is.
Let's see. Okay, this is a good one. It's from Claudia Gonzalez. She says, "When making a cake, have you ever been at a point where everything is not going as planned? And when did this happen? And what did you do about it?"
Okay, so this has happened to me so much. Less the more I get into cake decorating, but I always have failures. In fact, my husband, bless his heart, he is so patient with me because he'll say, "It looks good, just leave it, just keep moving forward," and I can't. I'll have to redo something, to make it right. But actually, just recently, in fact, some of the cakes I made for the show, for the class, for the Craftsy class, I had to cover 16 tiers of cake for that class because I had to decorate a complete set of cakes, and then I ended up shipping, a set of blank cakes. Basically, they just had fondant covering on them. And my girlfriend and I actually didn't use my normal marshmallow fondant because there were so many to cover. I was allowed to go ahead and use some store-bought stuff just to help me get through it all and not have to make 8 batches of marshmallow fondant.
Yeah.
So we had the hardest time. I don't know what it was, if it was the humidity or what I was using to roll stuff out with, but we had to cover so many cakes 2 and 3 times before it was right for me. So I guess for me though, I keep doing it. Like I'll just keep re-rolling it and I'll keep recovering it until it's right. And then there's the times though where you just have to let it go and know that depending upon who you're making it for, and fortunately, thank you, Lord, I don't make cakes for clients. Like I have had a failure where I was going to make a cake for a friend and it was her birthday, I think. And I forget exactly what was wrong. I couldn't get the ruffles or I couldn't get something on the cake the right way. And I literally just went out and I bought her some chocolates and a card and I said, "Happy birthday," and I threw the cake away because I couldn't get it to work. I just was so frustrated, and she didn't know I was making her cake, so no harm done there.
Oh, yeah, no harm.
So,
Hey, that works.
yeah, I mean, I have been there, and that's really why I started my blog, was because I had so many failures early on that it was so frustrating for me. And once I'd find a solution to the failure, I'd want to share it because I want people to not have to go through the same failures and spend the kind of money and time that I spent learning, because I'm totally self-taught. So there's a lot of failures there.
Yeah, well, everybody has to learn,
It is.
and so one of the best ways to learn is through your failures.
It is.
It sounds terrible and maybe even cliche, but it's true. It is the truth.
It is,
We
yeah.
we learn from our mistakes.
We do a lot more than we learn from our successes sometimes.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Very true. Okay. Um, Here's one on buttercream. Someone is asking, I'm wondering to know what kind of buttercream is better to use in cakes and what you recommend to use. You have a specific type of buttercream?
I think a lot of it, there's so many different kinds. I think there's a couple things you have to ask yourself is, what's your client's preference if you're, obviously making a cake for your client. There's the meringue-based buttercreams, which are real silky and smooth and almost like a whipped cream type buttercream. They're so delicious. That's my preferred. Swiss meringue buttercream is definitely what I prefer to work with because of it's so stable, and the butter based gives it a really hard shell when you refrigerate it, so it just works beautifully. If you're not going to cover your cake in fondant though, and you want to have a really beautiful buttercream finish, then a crusting buttercream, might be a good choice because it's a little easier to get nice and smooth, and you can decorate with it without maybe damaging it as easily as a meringue-based buttercream. So, and then there's your typical American buttercreams, which is a butter base, but it has powdered sugar in it. And that's going to give you a totally different mouthfeel, having the powdered sugar versus the meringue. So I definitely prefer the Swiss meringue buttercream for me. It's yummy. Heaven on a spoon. And it works really well with covering cakes and fondant. So, and I have recipes for that on my blog. I do a 1-2-3 ratio, like 1 part egg whites, 2 parts sugar, 3 parts butter. And so I can use that ratio if I want to make a giant batch or a small batch. It's all the same. You start with your egg whites and then you just double it or triple it for the amounts for your sugar and your butter. So it's easy.
Okay. All right, let's see. We have here's a question, and I think that your Craftsy video answers this, but I want to make sure. Rebecca Barrera asks, do you make your own fondant, or is there a particular brand that you use?
So I do make my own fondant, and a lot of it's because of cost savings for me and my family. And but now that I've made marshmallow fondant and I've kind of perfected the recipe that works for me in my area, I love it, especially after the failure I had recently with the commercial fondant. It made me just love my marshmallow fondant. So it's real elastic. It covers beautifully. There's definitely a little bit of a learning curve with it, and also it's real sensitive to humidity. So it's definitely not a fondant that is for everyone everywhere. So if you've got a real humid climate, it's probably not the best option to use a marshmallow fondant. But I'm in Oregon, and it's real mild here. Although we do have humidity, it's not a big deal. So I loved it. I loved working with it in Colorado when I was there for the Craftsy class. Colorado is amazing. It's so dry. I could make beautiful cakes in Colorado.
Well, cool. Now, I've always lived in dry. Utah's dry, Las Vegas is dry.
Oh, that would be
dry.
amazing. Yeah, I was planning at this one point in the class, I'm covering a buttercream cake with fondant, and I only have about 20 minutes to do that because I take the cake right from my fridge before it starts to condensate. And so in the video or in the class, you'll see I keep saying, okay, in the next few minutes it's going to start condensating and you'll have to stop. and it never did. And then it just kept working.
You're like,
I
hey.
felt kind of dumb, but and then after we cut for that lesson, I kept saying, "It's still not condensating," and they were laughing. I'm like, "That's because it's dry here." So
That's too funny. Well, good stuff. That's, I guess you have to deal with what your climate is.
yeah, you do.
All right. Oh, here's one. Kathy asks, what other program would you suggest to design with if you don't have AutoCAD?
That's a really good question. I get that question a lot. I would actually love to create a cake design program.
Oh, that would be really
Anyone,
cool.
anyone is out there who wants to help me create a cake design program? But I love working with AutoCAD. It really is easy. The program itself is ginormous, so it's not, you can't use it. But if there was some program like that for cake decorators, it would be phenomenal. Um, I am not familiar with any other cake design program. I do use Photoshop though. I think once you establish maybe some templates, if you're familiar with Photoshop, or I know that my friends who are graphic designers use Illustrator. So I'm horrible. I'm not the right person to ask for that, I guess. Chicken scratch is always good,
Yeah.
Maybe creating some templates that are, that you create in pen, and then, photocopying those and using them to design the cakes within pencil or colored pencil on top of those templates. Might be a good idea. There's also, I know that on Cake Central, there's a huge section for templates where people have actually, either with computer drawing or hand drawing, they've uploaded templates there for different kinds of cakes, or shapes of cakes and sizes of cakes. So Cake Central might be a really good resource where they're already done. They've already been created that you can kind of use for your own hand drawing maybe. So sorry, not a good answer there.
Well, it's an answer though. All right. Let's see. We have Rebecca Ferreira again asks, have you ever tried doing the design transfer onto buttercream, and will this work?
I haven't, but I have had a couple people post that it does work. On my blog, they've emailed me or they've posted comments. As long as the cake is really cold and it's, again, a butter-based cake that you can put in your fridge and get that nice hard shell on, it should work perfectly. Just like you would normally transfer a fondant design onto a buttercream cake, it works the same way. So yeah, from what I haven't done it, but from what I've heard, it does work. Yes.
Okay. You might have to be a little more careful peeling it off, maybe.
Yeah, you might be a little slower, and more careful pressing that pattern on the buttercream, because you don't want to push it into the buttercream. So, but I think as long as your cake is really cold and you do it right from the fridge, I think that natural condensation too of that buttercream coming out of the fridge is really going to help keep that fondant stuck on the cake, and having it be so hard is going to prevent you from maybe sticking your finger in it or sticking, the design in it too far, because it's so firm. So I don't see there being any problems with actually doing that. I think it would work great. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. All right. Lucia Byers asks, she says, I'm sorry I did not get the beginning of the tutorial. How did you attach the chevron pattern to the wax paper? Did you brush the paper with shortening?
I used to use my fingers, and I kind of put it about as much as you would be coating a pan. Like if you want to bake something, in a cake pan, you coat it with shortening or butter. It's the same. You don't want to put a ton of it in there, but you want a nice even coat, on the wax paper.
Okay. So that it won't slide.
Right.
And it won't, stick too much, that kind of thing.
You're just putting enough on there to get it to stick, but not to, yeah. And another thing is you don't want to leave your design on the Crisco very long. So if let's say you lay out your whole chevron, and then, the baby's crying, or you decide to go out for coffee with a friend, I don't know, but you can't leave it there for very long because it wants to absorb that Crisco. And so the longer it sits there, the more it's going to absorb that shortening into the material, and the less sticky it's going to become on your wax paper.
Okay.
And then it could fall off. So.
Yeah, and you don't want that.
No. I've had that happen. So, no, it's no fun because you have to start all the way over again.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We have Christy asks, "Is the design cut out with an X-Acto knife?"
Yes, in fact, you can use a scalpel on Amazon. Elisa Strauss actually talks about that in her class. Um, you can buy scalpels on Amazon, and they have this super tiny little tip on them, and their razor obviously super, super sharp. So those, or I use a number 11 blade on my X-Acto knife, and the number 11 blade is also a really thin point, has a really thin point on it. So when you're cutting out your designs, you can get a really intricate cut that's done really well. And just remember to change your blades a lot. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues with clean cuts is to be good about changing your blades often, with every cake project even.
Cool. Yeah, having a sharp blade and especially cleaning off the gunk,
Yes.
that's,
Yeah.
you got to have a nice clean blade for a nice clean cut.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Oh, and just for all of you that are listening in, I know that we still have a whole bunch of questions, but if you want to get your question answered and you're not sure how to get your question in, there's an Ask a Question spot. If it's not there, refresh your screen and that'll be there. And you also want to make sure that you have that screen available because that's how we're going to work the giveaway at the end. So just make sure that you have your screen refreshed enough so that you have that Ask a Question at the bottom. Okay. Let's see. Jillian Williams asks, oh, I guess it's the same question. Sorry, how did you cut out the actual design? Let's see. All right, when you use this method with letters or intricate or word designs, do you print your design reverse?
Yes. So
Okay.
when you're laying it down, that's a great question. When you're laying it down, your design is going to be whatever's laying against your countertop is the front. So when you go to flip it up on the cake, that's the whatever's sticking to the wax paper is what's going to be seen from the front. So you do need to make sure and double check and triple check that the way that you've laid your design out, it needs to be backwards if you're going to do lettering and stuff, so that when you flip it over, it comes out correct. I think it's backwards. It is opposite though. It's either mirrored or it's backwards. I'm trying to figure out which one it is now. But yeah, it's not normal, so it won't be.
Yeah, you have to do it like opposite.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that when you put it on, it's
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
it will mirror it, I think is what it does. Because if it's this way on your cake, it's going to end up going backwards like this. So, yeah.
Okay, we have someone say, says, I love your cakes, so beautiful. Can you please share how you get such a clean edge on the bottoms of your cakes?
So I show that in the class too. That's why I love those single edge blade razors. I put my cakes up on a pedestal or something that's smaller than the diameter of the cake. And I get that blade in there and I put that blade around the bottom of the cake so that you've got a really precise cut. And then I'll take it off that pedestal and put it back on my work surface and continue to work on it. So, but getting it up off your counter is the trick for that. And getting it onto a smaller surface so that you can get underneath the edges of that cake, that's the trick.
All right. Okay, here's a question from Sylvia. Sorry. From Sylvia. She says, your wax paper technique is great. Will the shortening leave a shine on the chocolate? Do you do anything in order to achieve a nice matte finish? Also, do you have a favorite recipe for the modeling chocolate?
So it does leave, the shortening does leave a satiny finish on your cake. The longer that it sits there, the more it absorbs and the less satiny it looks. And also, depending upon the color, if it's a dark color, it's going to look a little bit more shiny than a light color would because it just reflects more light. But after I put my design on and I peel that wax paper off, I will use a little tissue or a Kleenex or a Q-tip and go around and kind of buff that out. After I know that the design is set and it's not going to move around, you can wait, a little while to do that. And the more that you wipe it and the more that you kind of buff it out, then the less shiny it is. And so, but I don't know if you could call it matte. It's more of like an eggshell, real, more of a satin finish is what you end up getting. It's I actually really like it. It looks really clean because there's no cornstarch, there's no fingerprints. It really makes the finish look really beautiful.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. We'll have to pick just one or two more questions and then we'll have to be done. So let's see. Here's a good one from Kelly. Where do you purchase the acetate sheets that you use for your fondant?
So I purchased mine in an art supply store here in town. They have acrylic or polyester or acetate sheets. The thickness, hold on 1 second.
We get to see it.
Okay, so this will be hard to see, but I think it's like 0.2 or 0.02. Again, I don't have it anymore because I peeled my sticker off these, but it's like the cover of a report, like a report cover. That's what I was trying to think about. So it's bendable, but it's nice and stiff. And the great thing about it is that you get the straight edges, which my fondant smoothers have the rounded edges. So for me, the straight edge is really key. And whether you use an acrylic smoother, there are some smoothers out there that have that straight edge. It's just that straight, flat edge that you really want. So I found mine in an art supply store. There's actually a link in the course materials or the class materials for an online company where you can get them from. They've been out of stock for a while. I think when I first posted my video on YouTube months ago, they went out of stock really quickly. In fact, they sent me an email that said, "Hey, thanks for sending people my way." So I'm not sure if you can still get it from that company, but there's a link in my blog for the sheets, and then the info also is in the class materials too. So, or like I said, your art supply stores should have them, or hobby stores even. So I just call around.
All right, perfect. The name of the video, by the way, for all of you, is Clean and Simple Cake Design. So that's the video. And now you guys all know where to go to get it, because that's where you go to get it. And so yeah, I definitely think you guys should go and get this video. I'm going to, because there's a lot of stuff in there that I want to find out, especially those 3 techniques. There's this one, and then you said 2 other different methods of. So yeah, I have actually used this method that Jessica has shown us. I've used this, and I love it. I think it's awesome. So I can't wait to see what else you have. So
yay!
Yay! Well, so thank you so much, Jessica. This is
fun. I love to share and love to help you guys out. So it's fun for me to be able to do that. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And for all of you guys out there listening, we will be doing our regular scheduled CakeFu training next week also. So, boy, we're going to just have some fun here. We've got lots of it coming. All right, so I guess we will see you guys all next week. Congratulations, Jessica, on your craftsy videos. I hope they do well for you. And I guess I hope to work with you another time. It's been really fun.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.